Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Prime Time Sports Exchange. And I don't know a lot about Spanish, but I can do uno, dos, tres, because that's what we have on tonight. Myself, Jacob Christner, and JB Ellis. So for all you Spanish people that want to criticize my Spanish or lack thereof, the criticism is very justified. With that said, welcome back, Jacob.
How you doing tonight? It's like, I'll tell you this part. It's always nice to have these Wednesday nights and Thursdays straight up before Wednesdays before the pundit.
Absolutely. And we'll
switch his spots.
Yeah, there you go.
Save the best for last.
Yeah, now we have David Copperfield, Jacob Christner. Okay, now you see him, now you don't. All right, Joe. Right. Good to see you back when we were up in Wisconsin. And you and I have a lot of things that we're working on collectively. So welcome back, Joe.
Welcome, Scott. Glad to be here. Another great week. A lot of sports stuff happening. I can't wait to see what topics you chose.
All right. Well, it won't be very much longer before you do. But before you do that, I just want to let everybody know that the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? One way to get in there is participate in the chat room. The other way is send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If on advertise cost efficiently, give me a call, 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Our Twitter/X is @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. And I just put out my first book here called Lessons from the Microphone that can be obtained on Kindle and Amazon. And it's tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. Basically, to summarize it, old school media versus new school media. With that said, okay, let's get this party started. All right, well, by now I think a lot of people know that the big news of the week is Shohei Ohtani. You know, what's interesting about this story, though, it has a pay later, and you wonder if there's a future trend that we'll find out as we continue to talk about this. But he's deferring $680 million of $700 million salary, so he'll get $2 million per year for the first 10 years of that deal, you know, and then which equals $20 million, and his remaining salary of $68 million will be paid. It begins in 2034 and I believe it ends in 2043. But now here's something that I just found out about the contract. He has an opt-out clause if president of baseball operations Andrew Friedman leaves or Mike Walter is no longer controlling interest as an owner. Didn't know that before, but again, it's all about relationships. When you negotiate with the owner who believes in you, as well as the president of baseball operations, you never know. I would hardly doubt that I could see it, but you know, Shohei Ohtani certainly has a great business acumen. We know that this deal probably pales to what bobbybonilla did, but nevertheless, he has money coming later on and a lot of it, let alone the fact that he has a lot of endorsements, plus the money that he earned from the LA Angels. With that thought, Joe Ellis, take over and give me your thoughts on that.
So, you know, I'm shocked he went to the Dodgers more than anything. It's a lot of money. They're the one team that has a lot of money, but I just didn't think he wanted to stay in the Los Angeles area. You know, being loyalty is so important. I'm shocked he went, you know, cross town, even though it's Anaheim compared to LA. You know, to me, as someone that said, you know, loyalty, kind of weird that he did that. I can understand going to a completely different market, but to go cross town, I find that odd. You know, again, I'm a New Yorker, so to me, if you're a Yankee fan, the Mets are the enemy. Not really keen with the LA market the same way I'm the New York market. I don't think the rivalry is as big, but you know, to me, it's kind of weird. And I didn't think he wanted to stay in LA. So I'm thinking that their offer must have been that much better than everyone else's offer. The deferred money and the opt-out clause, you know, I'm sure that was just ways to structure to make him more comfortable, to make sure that they got the deal done, because I'm sure there were other teams bidding, and the Dodgers didn't want to lose out on probably one of the best players of the generation.
But let me point out to you, though, the San Francisco Giants made an offer comparable to LA's, if not the same, and he decided not to go to the Giants. So the Giants were really hot in on Shohei Ohtani, but he didn't mind staying in the LA markets. He seems to have acclimated. He's built a following there. If you're going to build a market deal, whether it's New York, Chicago, or LA, you've got a lot in those markets that certainly make you accessible to a lot of opportunities. All right, Jacob.
I absolutely love the move, and I'll tell you why. One of the biggest things I learned growing up, and because I've read a lot of different books, especially about money and everything, is so listen to I listened and read Robert Kiyosaki, and what he used to say, what it was about passive income, money that just keeps rolling in through your life. That's the way you get to your billions, your millions, and your billions, and I love every bit of this. Because there's so many players that want to see they call it the stacks right now.
Right.
He is just going to be living. He's kind of doing the Jayleno, because Jayleno in the day only lived off of his money from stand-up comedy. He put every ounce of his Tonight Show money away. And now during that time it was $250 million, and now he's retired with that much money. And it's one of those things. And then he'll still do his stuff. And now this is what Ohtani's going to do. He's going to play whatever, say another 10 years left. You got to remember, he played 7 years already, so that's probably it for his contract if he doesn't opt out. That's 17 years. So what you could say with something like this is he's doing that, and then until 2043, all that money rolling in and rolling in and rolling in over and over. And he's going to be a billionaire one day, and he's probably going to buy a team.
Well, not only that, what you have to understand, though, Jacob, is he's not going to be pitching next year, so he's strictly a DH.
I don't think he's going to pitch ever again, personally to me. I don't.
I believe he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries, if my memory serves me correctly. So, but we'll see.
Correct,
yeah, so he's
yes, he did have that, but I'm sorry. The reason I was saying that is because I think he's going to have an enormous hitting year next year, and then he's going to see that he was always this 280 side, 290, 301. And then while he was pitching and wearing himself out, then he's going to see like 340, 350. And he's going to be like, no way, done.
Yeah, but you know what, Jacob? I could see him probably pitching maybe 1 or 2 years, depending on what happens after the surgery. Right now, all we're doing is talking hypotheticals anyways.
Sure.
You're going to pay a guy $700 million. You want to believe that, you're going to see him pitch as well as hit. Now, again, next year, he's not going to. He has a Tommy John, but he's still an efficient hitter. And, of course, you have the designated hitter universal. So it'll be interesting to see how the whole thing plays out. Well, we have another big headline. If you haven't heard by now, you'll hear it from here, that the NBA has suspended Golden State Warriors for Draymond Green indefinitely for his latest scuffle. I'm going to tell you right now, joedumars isn't messing around. He hit him with a 5-game suspension before, and now Draymond continues to never learn his lesson. Draymond, if you never learn now, you're never going to learn, period. So, all right, Joe, take it from there.
So I'm a little confused. Joedumars, wasn't he part of the Detroit Pistons way back when, were they were the bad boys? Yeah. I mean, not that Joedumars was, one of the bad boys, but he was on that team. Well, great player on the team. I like.
I got to know him real well too, though, Joe. I did. He was the guy I always turned to. But go ahead, continue your thought.
I just find it interesting because his teammates were probably some of the roughest guys in the league at the time. And it's just interesting that that's the guy who's suspending someone indefinitely for a scuffle. It's just ironic. And I have a lot of respect for Joedumars. And like I said, I think he was a great player. I'm not insinuating that he was one of the bad boys, because he wasn't. Him and Isaiah really weren't like that. It was Mahorn and, and Lambeer. But it's just ironic. And Draymond is just, I don't know. I mean, somewhere along the lines, you gotta have basketball intelligence. You got to do what's best for your team, and and he's not the only one. You look at football, the 49ers game last week against Seattle. DK went back at the San Francisco player after he pushed him in the back. I get it's frustrating. I get you want to stand your ground and It's the sports world. You want to show you're the most macho, but sometimes it's not about that. It's about helping your team.
Right.
And you not being on the court doesn't help your team. I have no issues with it. If you violate the rules, you deal with it. You got to be smarter than that. So it is what it is. You get what you deserve when you break the rules.
Well, bear in mind, Joedumars works for the NBA. Okay, so he
Yes.
evaluates everything. But the biggest thing that we have to understand is Draymond Green's track record has gotten him into serious trouble. Now they're not going to let him back until he meets certain conditions. So, and I know Joedumars, you're 100% correct. He wasn't one of the bad boys. In fact, I'll even take it a step further, Joe and Jacob. Okay, he never complained on the court about calls, and if he ever did mention some of the officials, you know what they used to do? They listen, because if you don't complain, then maybe we need to listen to this guy anyways, because he never complains. So, Joedumars was a smart player, and he was a good executive too. He guided the Pistons to a championship in the front office. Unfortunately, the ownership change and the financial side of the Pistons led to the downfall of the franchise, but I'm not going to get into that, although we do have something to talk about with them a little bit later. But still, Joedumars in a position where, the NBA trusts him to do it. But this is all related, Joe and Jacob, to track record. Period. Track record. All right, with that said, Jacob, continue.
Joedumars is that guy I'm imagining at the bar while everybody else is like fighting. He's doing, it's like, hey guys, it's like he's having his beer at the bar, just watching them beat everybody else up. He's the guy who's like, come on, let's sit down and have beer or something. You can just imagine him. But the biggest thing about this right now is there was somebody on Twitter or X or whatever that was saying, "Oh, you hate '90s when it's you hate '90s ball or '80s ball when Draymond does it." And no, they missed the point. We hated billlaimbeer if we weren't on his team. Right. We hated cheap shots. Didn't we, JB? We hated cheap shots then. What we liked was fighting back. From something like that. We never went for the cheap shot artist. We didn't like that either. This was cheap shot artist over and over with him.
Right.
And the biggest thing with Draymond really is he's just got anger issues.
Right.
He's just got issues. It's like, it's one of those things where there's like, I have something to constantly prove, and he really doesn't. He's got how many rings? You know what I'm saying? He's got how many rings? He shouldn't have anything to prove. And in truth, and I'm not saying this was the right thing to do with Jordan Poole, but does he want to prove that he's the tough guy? Already did that with knocking Jordan Poole off, you know what I mean? But not knocking Jordan Poole straight to the wall. He already made that proof, so why do you have to continuously do all this? And it's one thing to do the macho thing. It's another, or anything like that. It's another to be a jerk. It's like when you're a jerk, you're just hurting your team. And the big thing about him, he's a rebounder. He's a passer. The guy has perimeter game. They're going to miss that. Seriously. And it's going to be putting a young man on there that's not, for some minutes and may not be ready for. And they're going to probably lose more games than they need to, and Steph's going to get frustrated.
Jacob, you touched on a lot of great points, so let me go back a little bit, because when you touched on, that's what I was thinking. Number one, Larry Brown did a good job managing rasheedwallace, and he was a loose cannon if I ever saw one.
Yeah.
And he really was. He got more technical fouls, as many technical fouls as Draymond Green. Secondly, your example of Jordan Poole is good. And I think Steve Kerr's done as good as he can with Draymond Green. And you know what? Draymond Green is the equivalent to Dennis Rodman, because he did all the dirty work that nobody wants to do, and he covers up your deficiencies is what he does, so that you can become a more offensively efficient. There was a former high school coach many years ago that his name was Greg Samuel. He actually played on Florida State, in the finals many, many years ago. I think they lost to UCLA and John Wooden, but he always said defense creates offense. And that's one thing that always stuck with me. That was the first time, mind you, I had heard it. Okay. And then obviously you carry it on as I'm covering these events throughout the years, right? We're talking about
defense creates offense, because especially if you steal the ball or get in halfway to the court, you only have a halfway there. So It creates offense immediately.
Yeah, right. But that's the first time, Jacob, I had heard it. And then when you're covering high school, but more so college and then the pros, and I covered the Pistons for a lot of years. Greg Samuel, what he said was a mouthful. So, all right. So, yeah, the guy's track record just simply got him in hot water, and it's going to be a while before he gets out. So, I don't know about you guys, if somebody gets in my doghouse, they don't get out of it for a while unless they prove to me that they're worthy of getting out of it. I won't mention any specifics about the whole thing, but you have to have trust and you have to have respect. If you don't have either of those, you don't have nothing.
So, hell, you feed them Alpo. Not only do you put them dogs, you feed them Alpo.
That's true. Yeah, I've seen a lot of crazy people personally and professionally in this industry that, my book, Lessons from the Microphone, might divulge a few of them, but we'll let everybody out there purchase it through Amazon or Kindle. All right. Third thing we're going to talk about, Washington Wizards owner Tedleonsis is preparing to move his two teams to Virginia. What he's looking at is a $2 billion sports and entertainment district. They have a place in downtown DC now. The city said they're willing to fix it up, but you know what? I see where Leonsis is going, wants to move it to the suburbs where you have a lot more area. So I have no problem. To me, what he's doing is no different than when the Pistons left downtown Detroit to go to Pontiac. So, Joe, what are your thoughts about Tedleonsis?
So, I've been to the arena. When I was there was the Capital One Arena, I believe. I don't know if that's what it's still called.
I believe it is.
It's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful area. There's plenty of restaurants. There's actually plenty of parking. It's a nice area of DC. I get that he wants a new arena and he wants to build so he can have that, but it's unnecessary. They're actually in a good place. The arena is nice. There's not a bad seat in the arena.
Right.
Like anything, if it's over a year old nowadays in sports, it can be fixed. I'm sure he wants more suites and everything, and there's probably more money to be made if he moved it. But I actually like the arena. I was there a couple of times, and I like the area that it's in. There's plenty of nightlife, plenty of good restaurants. I don't. For me, things like that kind of bother me. That team's been part of the Washington. Both teams have been part of Washington's city for so long, and the culture of the DC area. And to see them move to Northern Virginia, even though it's just a stone's throw away.
Right.
To me, it's kind of disheartening.
Yeah, the area, as I understand it, I think Alexandria, Virginia. So I've looked, and I've actually driven through Alexandria before en route to DC. Jacob, go ahead.
Well, you think about this now. You can call them Virginia Squires again. And that's the thing. You can do it again. It's like, here's the thing. The NBA owes all the ABA marks. So why not? So, but the thing about this is, I think another thing is sometimes you just need a gigantic, huge coat of paint. I just do. It's like they were literally, you say it's a nice area, JB, and you're correct. It really, really is. It is nice. But you think about this for a second. The main guy was Jordan Poole, who literally said 2 weeks ago, even though they're losing a pile, he just likes the way he played because they leave him alone instead of challenging him.
Right.
It's like, and that's their guy. And they don't have, and there's not a real future with this type of deal. And you're not going to see a future in the next couple of years. What if you put that big giant, I'm thinking of the Bears with the new stadium in the next 5-6 years.
Right.
You need a new coat of paint sometimes, new uniforms, new everything. Give people a fresh start, the fans a fresh mindset. And there's nothing with the Wizards, the former Bullets. There's nothing with that's going to be fresh, especially they're not going to get anything bigger than with the way that their salaries are, the cap is. They're not going to get anything past Jordan Poole in the next few years. So you might need something to be able to get people up there.
Well, keep in mind that Tedleonsis owns the Capital One Arena. So I'll be curious to see if he's able to capitalize on that, get other tenants in there while he has his other two.
Maybe he'll use a forklift and to send it to Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
Well, nowadays with the G League, sure, they play in some big arenas. WNBA, there's plenty of things he could get there, I'm sure, but to me, those teams are such a big fabric in the culture of the DC area.
Right.
And I get, again, it's just a stone's throw away, but to me, it's just disheartening to see them moved out of the downtown area.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it though, Jacob. You've dealt with it in Atlanta. The Braves left from downtown Atlanta up to.
Oh, that was the best
right.
thing could have happened.
Yeah,
Oh, Turner Field's fine, great, nice place, but leaving that place at night, ugh, no. But it's like when you leave SunTrust or Truist or whatever it's called now, Truist. When you
Right.
leave it, you're in the Battery. You're going literally into restaurants, running right into restaurants, right into stores, right into all that stuff, and then you can go straight in with a Uber. An Uber can take you straight out into the city. I mean, you're not struggling with MARTA. You're not struggling with any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it was the best thing they could have done.
So yeah, those moves do work if you go to the suburbs. I've driven down that road 75 many times. On one of these days when you get off the exit, check it out. But sometimes you go to the suburbs, it works. Sometimes it doesn't. So it just. But that's where we are with Leonsis. All right. Well, I talked about the Pistons a little bit earlier. I'm going to do it again. But they have company this time. This is Three's Company, but for all the wrong reasons, okay? For a lot of us that like Three's Company, a lot of us like Suzanne Summers, John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and the rest of them. But this is a Three's Company you don't want to be a part of. So the combined record in the last 52 games for the San Antonio Spurs is 0-17. The Pistons are 0-20, and they could lose tonight to the 76ers, so that could be 21. The Wizards are 1-14. Their lone win was, you guessed it, the Detroit Pistons. They have the highest paid coaches with Greg Popovich with an annual salary of $16 million for a 3-19 squad. And the team record for Montywilliams is $13.1 million with a 2-21 record. It could be 2-22. Oh my goodness. I can tell you right now, if you're a great coach, but you don't have any talent, you're in trouble. I mean, think about Montywilliams and of all people, Greg Popovich dealing with this futility when they've won before. This is pretty tough to stomach, Joe.
Listen, it happens. I mean, teams have to rebuild. The Spurs are rebuilding. Detroit's been rebuilding for a little while.
Right.
They just haven't progressed anywhere. I don't understand what's happening with that, why they're not at least getting a little bit better. But basically you're going to hit eventually. You're going to have to build up through the draft. I think part of it, a lot of people don't want to go to Detroit. They don't want to go to San Antonio. It's not the sexy place to go play. People want to go to LA. They want to go to Miami. They want to even go to New York now, but so you have to build through the draft. You have to develop, and it's tough. I mean, Popovich is a great coach, but you need talent, and you got to unfortunately go through rebuilding times when that happens.
Yeah, the problem with Troy Weaver is he's been at his job for a while and hasn't been able. He's collecting draft choices, but a lot of people in Detroit are leaning on him a little bit. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I totally agree that it's been a while. At some point, they've got to turn the corner. They really do. It's one thing to draft players; it's another to get them to play cohesiveness as a team. Okay, Jacob.
You saw that you brought up Three's Company. This is a Three's Company if it was Josh Gad, Lena Dunham, and Rebel Wilson. This is just bad. but
Wow.
I'm not worried about San Antonio. Not in the least. All I want to see is Wembanyama he has had a 2020 already for his age. He's already had a few double doubles this year. He's already looking as advertised. That's the whole deal like that. Not worried about those things. Washington, they're ridiculous. Detroit has a phenomenal coach. This is unfair.
Right.
They have a phenomenal coach. He's probably going to get fired, and this is unfortunate. It's unfortunate because he doesn't belong there. He was in the finals a couple years ago. None of this is like, I don't know what's with Detroit. I don't know if it's ownership that doesn't care. It's terrible. It's like everything about them just drives me crazy, especially when we have the history that we remember of Detroit being, champions. They haven't built anything around Cade Cunningham at all.
Right. Well, Jacob, here's the thing. The ownership probably doesn't care as much, and I disagree with that. Montywilliams will not get fired.
Well, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I love Montywilliams.
I think he will. can't blame him. At least give the guy 2 or 3 years and then see where they're at. But right now, you can't just premature.
Oh, exactly. But I just think of everybody being jumpy and everything. And that's all I think about, especially online and trying to get people in. I'm not going to put the blame on him. I mean, he's doing his best with a ridiculous situation. I love Montywilliams. I would someone like me, if I owned the team tomorrow, even if I bought the team at 30 losses in a row, personally to me, I'd give him a 5-year contract to really irritate the crowd. Wow. I mean the fans. I really would, because I know what his past was and what he can build. He needs help himself.
Well, the bottom line is Tom Gorth, I think, is heavily responsible because he's had a very poor record since he bought the team. And Troy Weaver, Montywilliams will be fine. I really do. And if you're going to lose, you might as well get paid $13.1 million to do it, so you don't have to worry about anything. So it doesn't make any difference. All right, well, I do have an NFL topic. Yes, the NFL is a sport, of course. Really? We'll have a lot more headlines coming in a few minutes, but the NFL is coming to Sao Paulo, Brazil, for the first time in 2024. All right, Joe. I've never been to Brazil, but I hear it's a really nice place. I'd like to go to Rio, but you never know. Of course, who would want to go to Rio?
Tell me more about what's happening with the NFL in Brazil.
Yeah, they're going to Brazil next year. They're going to Brazil for a game next year.
Joe. First time ever, an international game.
Nice. Listen, they added the 17th game. Make every team play a game overseas. And do it 1 week. Make it like a 1 week during the year, maybe like week 9, so it's the middle of the season. No bye week that week. Send every team to another country and have international week. Make it a huge thing. I think that'd be a cool experience. You could find 16 sites to play international games. Well, grow the sport.
Joe, I'm going to give you something. I want you to think about this too, Jacob, before I turn to you, okay? I'm going to give you a prediction right now. You heard it here on the Sports Exchange, okay? And that's this. They went to 17 games with the intent that this is going to be a primer for 18, okay? I saw this many years ago with the USFL, preseason. Oh, they didn't have preseason games. I don't remember. But you have an 18-game season. Here's what I believe will happen, okay? You had to get to 17 before you could get to 18, right? And again, I'm not a math major. I think ultimately what the NFL would like to do, again, it's just a prediction, so don't hold me any further than that, okay? Once they establish what the international markets will be, I think that each team will end up playing 2 games a year overseas, whether it's London, Brazil, or wherever they're going to go next. They've done it in Germany. I'm trying to remember the other one that they're looking at. Spain, that's the one. So this is a primer to lead up to what you have. So, Joe, everything you're saying is completely accurate.
Oh, how great would that be? Make weeks 9 and 10 international week. Send 4 teams to Asia, 4 teams to South America, some teams to Europe. You could play all through the globe, and you do it for 2 weeks. If you have 18 games, 1 week if you have 17 games, and there you go. Just go.
Yeah, I'm with you. But this is what they're going to – I see this down the road, Joe, that we're going to get 18. There are going to be 2 preseason games. It's inevitable, but they had to get 17 before we get 18. How the CBA works, players get more money. But everybody – and when you come to negotiate, they have to work extremely hard to do it. But that's what I think down the road, Joe. And we got Brazil, Spain will be next, and then you reevaluate the London situation. Japan down the line. The only place you're not going to put it for.
Yeah.
Well, I think of other places they won't put it. Won't get on here for the sake of getting political because it's not what we do here, anyways. But this is just a primer for 18-game schedule. And yeah, Brazil. I've never been to Rio. I hear it's a cool place, but I know Sao Paulo is a very established soccer market, is really what it is, and they have a stadium ready to do it. So, all right, Jacob, go ahead.
I have a thought process first off before I go into this. I think you stole that pin that's in your hand from my trapper keeper in 3rd grade.
Well, yeah, let's see that.
That thing right there.
A multicolored pen, folks.
Yes, exactly. It's like, but I love this. And you want to know what you're going to hear from there, really? Vuvuzelas, just like you heard in soccer. And with those, you're probably going to get the exciting teams. Like, again, you'll probably see a Miami, a Kansas City, a San Francisco, any of those teams, so they can play. You're not going to see you're not going to see the Raiders and the Minnesota in that game 3-0 because they want their fans to play those vuvuzelas. They want them excited and the scores. Yeah.
Make it like the World Cup, but don't put out the schedule till the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
Or week 1 Thursday night, an hour before opening kickoff, you put it on NBC like they do the pregame show.
Yeah.
You have the pots, and you said, what is it? 8 different pots with 8 countries, and you pick team A, B, C, D. You're going to Australia, for the 2 games. Then, whatever, you just go through like they do the World Cup draw. Could you imagine how much interest that would draw?
Oh, absolutely.
Why isn't the NFL hiring me? This is the marketing draw of the century.
NFL in Qatar, NFL in Saudi Arabia.
Well, Joe, I'll give you a really good suggestion as to why the NFL isn't hiring you. What I would encourage you to do after this show is you send this show to the NFL and send it directly to their marketing department, and I get a percentage of what you're going to do because I'm your agent to negotiate the deal. Now, let me add a new wrinkle to this whole thing. Miami owns the marketing rights in Brazil. Okay, they do. I believe the Bears and the Dolphins own the marketing rights to the commercial rights to Spain. I'm not going to get into the list I don't have, but I did read those when I was following up on this. So, you never know. Like London is to Jacksonville, Brazil, and there's a lot of Brazilians in South Florida, so you know why the Dolphins are shrewd enough to go ahead and get Brazil. I mean, there's a bunch of them in my neck of the woods, so why wouldn't you not want to go ahead and have your Brazilian population that's here go to Hard Rock, right? And then you're marketing down there. I mean, it's just genius. So, but mark my word, down the line, I do believe you're going to have 18 games, and each team's going to require to play two games in a foreign market. So,
follow the JB Ellis rule. The NFL will be huge throughout the world. You'll have people all over the world watching the draw before opening night. I'm telling you, this could be next level. Make it happen, NFL.
Next level, make it all 194 countries.
No.
No. I'm just saying. No. Hold on.
You jumped the shark already.
I don't mean they play in them all. I said they all would have a shot. Of course, you're going to make them. It's going to be the big top ones, but give everybody a shot of it. Is what I'm saying. That they think. I'm saying they're only going to be the 8, but I say it could be anyone.
Hey Jacob, maybe you don't understand this, bro. Okay. I was around when they had NFL Europe, and that was a good league. The only problem was it was just too expensive to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. I was around too.
Yeah, I know that. So, yeah. Jacob, let me give you some good advice, okay? And eventually, when you read my book down the road, okay, whenever that may be, okay, when you're on a roll, stay on it, okay?
I am on a roll, and I will stay on it.
Yeah, but don't bring me 194 countries that Roger Goodell's going to know. Oh, you got 109. Seriously, man? Seriously?
Well, no, I'm not saying they play them all. I'm saying just kind of market it that everybody might have a shot. Of course, they're not, but just market the thing.
They will, but JB Ellis he's got 2 homework assignments for next Wednesday night. He's going to read my book once and for all. And number 2, he's going to take the show, okay, and he's going to send it over to the NFL market. That's what I think you should do. And I'm going to go on public record that I get a percentage of your recruiting fee because, after all, if I didn't come up with a topic, I wouldn't let you sound off in the first place.
Listen, you got to take off the top sport in the world. What is more popular than the World Cup? Nothing. Not even the Super Bowl. Right. So what does the World Cup do? They have the draw. You do it before opening night, and you make it worldwide. It's a beautiful idea. Roger Goodell, JB_ the program. I'm available. I still got to do Sideline Sports on Tuesday and the Sports Exchange on Wednesday, but I'm available all other times to help you.
Good stuff. Here you have it here on the Sports Exchange. JB Ellis talking to the commish. I can do this. All right, we'll see what happens when the time comes that we're both at the Super Bowl. And I'll say, commish, this is the Motor City Madmouth, and this is one of my pupils, because you, compared to me, are a pupil. Okay. But you've come a long way, a long way. All right. One more topic we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get some headlines. First of all, Arizona Coyotes' entire franchise value is $675 million. Wow. guess what? Shohei Ohtani's contract is $700 million. This gives me another opportunity to pick on the Coyotes, who, by the way, play in a 5,000 seat stadium at Arizona State and haven't been able to get the Arizona Coyotes haven't been able to get anything right for as long as I can remember. So, all right, think about it, Joe. It's only $25 million that they're worth, and then Ohtani $700 million for the contract. That doesn't count how much money Ohtani's earned now and how much he's going to get later. Absurdity at its best. Go ahead.
The fact that they allowed them to play in a 5,000 seat arena, the absurdity that they allowed that to happen. Yeah. The NHL is on another level scary that this was allowed in Arizona. I don't understand. I mean, how can the league be valued? How can the team be valued at anything more? They don't have an arena. I mean, we could fit more people in apartment buildings in Manhattan, in Chicago, in LA than you go see a game. It's sad. And I mean, $700 million for Ohtani, I'm not upset. The dude is one of the best of the generation. So he deserves every penny. If someone's willing to pay him, good for him. And if you're paying $675 million for the Coyotes, you know what? Give Ohtani another $25 million. He can come to your birthday parties. He's a lot more enjoyable.
Well, you're on a roll tonight. I'll tell you, when you and I talked to Ian Hill, knowing that we go to a 3-man move, I'm telling you, man, there's something about Ellis. There's more to his marketing than I even realized. And all you need to do is watch the show and share it all over the place, right? Our good friend Ian, that's all I'll say about it. So, all right, so go ahead, Jacob.
The one thing I wanted to see, when you say 5,000 seat stadium, I'm like, I've been to the Atlanta Gladiators twice. That feels like that type of place, which might be just a little bit less people. That's about it. Right. But I'm like, when you think about this, all I want to know is this. If they're still playing there, you're talking about the worth of the 675. I want to know their debt load right now.
Right.
Because truthfully, if they aren't trying to get into a stadium, if they're not everything like that, there's got to be some serious debt problems with them where they're going to have someone buy them and send them to Atlanta or wherever. Because it is ugly to see this. And what kind of atmosphere can you get in practically a minor league stadium?
Exactly what you deserve if you're the Arizona Coyotes. They have been dysfunctional from the day they got there. They first played at America West Arena, where one side of the arena was you couldn't see anything out of it. They played in a nice stadium down in Glendale. The problem is they claim that their fan base is in the East Valley. And me being a former Arizona resident, I lived in the area called Chandler, which I love Chandler, Arizona. It's just great. And this is what you've got. And they're on borrowed time, whether they're going to stay in there. I know they're trying hard to do it. The NHL got involved in an effort to find a way to keep them there, but good luck. Shohei Ohtani, I'm with you, Joe. If you can get that kind of money, you do it. But that's not even Waynegretzky couldn't save the Coyotes when he was the head coach of that mess down there. Waynegretzky tried to coach that team.
If you gave me the choice, right? If I have that kind of money, I'll give it to Ohtani. We'll go play wiffle ball in the backyard, and it'll be the greatest wiffle ball player of all time. I'll put him in the wiffle ball Hall of Fame. We're good. Because the Coyotes, 5,000 seat stadium, that's bad.
That could be the in-between periods entertainment, wiffle ball on the ice.
Yeah, well, you know what? One thing I like about this topic is we can satirize it all day long. So, all right, let's go over some top headlines. Wisconsin lands Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. I don't know if you know much about this situation. I've seen Van Dyke play the last couple of years. I think he's making a good decision to go to Wisconsin. Number one, Luke Fickel, the coach of the Badgers, is a passing type of guy. Anyways, I think Mario Cristobal is a grounded out type of coach where he depends on the running game and you can have a suitable quarterback, a system quarterback. Joe, any observations about the fact that Tyler Van Dyke is leaving the palm trees to go to Madison?
Well, I mean, this will actually be a good thing for him because you play in Miami, warm weather. It's nice most weeks. The ACC doesn't really have many cold weather teams. Now you go to the Big Ten, different competition. It's a step up. The Big Ten's a little a better conference. And now you go to cold weather. Now, if you plan on playing on Sundays rather than Saturday, always a big question is, can you play in the cold? People have that question all the time. Why Josh Allen ended up getting drafted as high as he did, because he played in a cold weather college. So this, I think, will help him. He's playing with better competition in the Big Ten, and now he's going to be playing in cold weather, which give people a chance to evaluate what he can do. And I'm glad for Wisconsin. I like to see them start to get back where they used to be. They were always one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and I like to see them get back there. I always enjoyed seeing them do well. So I think it's a good move for everybody around.
Well, Joe, just an FYI, Van Dyke hails from Connecticut, so he played in South Florida, but he grew up and hails from that area, so he's definitely a cold weather guy. All right, Jacob, go ahead.
Two different ways to be able to take something like this. In one case, you're going to a completely different conference, let's just say it's this year's conference or whatever. It's tons of running, tons of grinding football, and it gets colder later. And how will he take? And I know he came from Connecticut, like you said, so he could be able to know what that's like. But you're going from a conference that can pretty much want to fling it out to a conference that's grind it and run it and, tough football. In the other case, the B1G is changing because they're going to be getting the Pac-12 teams. So they're probably going to be getting offenses, and they're probably going to be getting the bigger offenses, and this is probably Wisconsin's opportunity. They're probably trying to get somebody from another conference that slung the ball around, and that's probably their idea of trying to make it and keep up with the Washington, not Washington, but UCLA and any of those types, Washington, any of those that are coming in. They're trying to go get someone that's actually throwing the ball. And guess what? Someone like Iowa has not caught up yet. They're still the same team as of right now. So those are the things. Is Wisconsin, are they doing this because they're seeing these teams coming in and they want to change their offense? Or are they going to try to make Tyler Van Dyke go to what their old school, what they were?
That won't happen. Wisconsin's been traditionally a great running team. Ron Dane came out of there, and James White, and among others. So Luke Fickel's determined to go out there and turn this into a passing offense, which the Badger fans haven't seen before. And I like Luke Fickel, and I'm really pulling hard for Tyler Van Dyke. I really am. He was very pleasant to talk to at our press conferences. One of the nicest guys on the planet. I hope he cashes in on that final year and becomes an elite quarterback in the NFL. I know one guy we like to talk about a lot who earns praise, and now he's going to get another reason why. Colorado generates an economic impact of $113.2 million in Deion's first season. We knew he'd have an impact, but now we'll put in dollar signs in front of it. Joe, go ahead.
Listen, what the guy has done for the University of Colorado is amazing. He's brought in, just look at who is going to the games. The who's who, and the money that's been brought into the university. It's good all around. It was a rough year on the field. I'm sure not as anyone expected, but it all comes down to money.
Sure does, doesn't it? But Deion Sanders started off well. Unfortunately, finished 4-8, but I can see a move to the Big 12 working for him. And I've always said a coach needs at least 2 or 3 years until they put their stamp on it. So I think Deion Sanders, I'm really impressed by what he's done. All right, Jacob.
I missed on the thing this year. Remember, JV, you heard me. I missed for big time. I thought 9-3. Obviously missed. Looked good at first. 3-0 and 4-2. But, it didn't work out. But you want to know what it brought to all of this. Like I said, it brought the economy there. And guess what? They also have a sportsman of the year. I'm not going to say sports person because that's a man. If it's a sportswoman, it is. But that's the sportsman of the year or the sports team of the year, the Colorado. Deion and Colorado. They got them all out there in one single solitary year. So now they can build up toward a bowl game and they can build up to something later, especially when they'll get a lot of different players. Now they're going to lose a lot of players because Deion has a high expectation. And some of these players aren't going to want that. But he will get people just based off of the parents, just like Bob Knight did back in the day. He'll get them based off the parents. It's like that they know that Deion has a high expectation, just like they knew Bob Knight had expectations. Those parents are going to bring those kids there.
Like I said, it's year one. I think you could see if they're 4-8 this year, I could see Colorado improving to 6-7 win season next year. Again, yeah, and then after that, who knows? But all right, here's some other good news that from out of the Big Apple, that we've got Tommy DeVito and Zach Wilson were players of the week. First of all, Tommy DeVito, we all know, has been a great story living with his folks. And he's a local guy who's doing some pretty good things there. And Zach Wilson, I'm going to tell you, this kid has really matured in the last year. You know, he has a really good game against the Texans. You know what? I think the New York fans need to get off his case a little bit. And Zach needs to just continue to do what he's doing. You know, if he makes mistakes, you own it. But I'm impressed with the maturity of Zach Wilson, and the Tommy DeVito story is just impressive all the way around, Joe.
So, a tale of two quarterbacks.
Right.
I'm going to start with Zach Wilson. Honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers is coaching him, which, you know, if you're coached by a guy who's a multiple-time MVP and one of the better quarterbacks to play the game over the last 15 to 20 years, can't go wrong if you're listening. It may not sink in right away. It may not happen overnight. But, you know, having that in your ear and walking you through it, you're going to absorb it. And if you have talent, which Zach does, he'll get better. You know, do I think he's going to be a long-term NFL quarterback? Probably not. But good for him this week. Glad to hear it. You know, and great win by the Jets and great job by Zach. Now, to Tommy DeVito, his story is the underdog story. You know, third-string quarterback, probably never expected to set foot in a regular season game, lives with his parents because he's not making much money, you know, lucky enough to play in the area where he grew up, which is a phenomenal thing, especially, you know, if you're a fan of the team. He's come in, he's won 3 in a row, and he beat the Packers this week on a Monday night game, national TV, and, you know, comeback victory. Nobody thought they had a shot in the game. Everyone's buried the Giants, including myself, the last month and a half. Here they won 3 in a row. They're a game out of the playoff race. Probably not going to make the playoffs, but they made it interesting. You know, and I think the kid showing some stuff. He'll definitely be able to elevate himself to at least the backup role somewhere. Again, I don't know if he's good enough to be a long-term starter in the NFL, but he showed he could be a capable backup, and possibly in a couple of years, learning the game better and seeing it more, he could possibly become a starter at some point. But both of them, I think they're doing well. They're learning the game, and they're learning by being on the field, which is not an easy thing to do in the NFL.
Jacob?
Let me tell you this right now. The first thing I want to do, if I ever get the chance in this Super Bowl, I want to meet Tommy DeVito and his family and go to that tailgate.
Right.
I am a self-professed wannabe foodie, and I love Italian food. So those cutlets and the lasagna and all that kind of stuff, watching it on Monday Night Football, I have to have it. And it's a fun story. It is. And who cares? And truthfully, you know something, I want him to keep winning the way he does. I don't want to hear stupid reporters, is he the next Tom Brady? No, shut up. Who cares?
Right.
Let them win as a team. Let them win as a team, because I don't want them getting their hopes up for fantasy football, which will never be him. You want to know what he has? He has a family that takes care, that'll help them out. Like, if he starts struggling, look at that family in the crowd. I would not mess with that family. That family looks like they'll fight you. Every bit of that family looks like they'll fight you, and then they'll go get Rocco and all that kind of stuff and knock you out if you start anything. As far as Zach Wilson, though, you're right. Aaron Rodgers is coaching him. We've been talking about this all year, JB. He is coaching him. What is Nathaniel Hackett's job essentially besides getting coffee for Aaron? What is his role in the first place? Because it is obvious that when he's called plays throughout this year, it looked awful. The minute here comes Aaron, and then he's talking to his ear, here he comes. Here's Zach's all of a sudden looking better. It's never going to happen because he wants Hackett around, I guess, as I guess he wants them at bars so they can then try to get women or something. I don't know. Maybe it's his buddy, but just get rid of Hackett and let Aaron run the whole thing as far as the OC. You might as well, because it's kind of ridiculous. Because they looked best they've looked in ages, and I definitely guarantee it's not Hackett.
Well, let me tell you this. A few years ago, I saw Zach Wilson shred the Central Florida Knights at the Boca Raton Bowl. And I believe that he will not be a bust. There has to be some cohesiveness with the head coach and the offensive coordinator and putting talent around him, and you need a good offensive line. And they don't appear to have any of that yet. So, and I'll tell you, a lot of people say, you think Robert Saleh should be fired? Absolutely not.
Those fans, I call them emotional nitwits for a reason. No, Saleh's a good coach. They don't get it. They're living off of fantasy football and Madden.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you or not. I think he's done a great job with the defense, but getting back to Zach Wilson,
it can get worse though, bud. It can get worse.
I'm not disagreeing, but I don't know if I'm sold on him as a good coach yet. I think he's decent. I don't think he's bad or good at this point. But I will say with Wilson, another part of the issue is he's playing for the Jets. That in New York, the Jets get reamed in the papers and by the reporters more than the Giants. The Giants are more well-liked. They're better respected by the reporters. The Jets just get ripped. So it's a hard thing. It's hard enough with the New York media, for playing on any team. But the Jets just get it extra tough from the reporters. The beat writers for the Jets are much tougher, and it's not an easy place to play. And that also plays a part in it. You have to be very thick-skinned.
So, Joe, let me ask you a question. How many cards are in a deck of cards?
A lot, 52.
No, you're wrong.
The Jokers.
No, you got 52 plus 2 Jokers. That's 54.
Jokers don't count.
Yeah, they do count. Because you never know.
They count in poker. No,
exactly. You never know when you use them.
They count in gin.
So I guess what I'm trying to tell you, Joe, okay, you got 54 cards, right? And there's always variables in anything. I knew you were going to get that one right.
You're talking to the ultimate card guy. My very first words as a kid were the Jack, King, Queen, and Ace. I've been a card guy all my life.
All right, listen, The last thing we're going to talk about, and this will be really quick before we call it a night, okay? Joe, give me your thoughts about Bill Belichick's eventual ouster over at New England. Doesn't have to be long. Is it time for the Patriots to move on, or where do you think he could go?
I don't know if it's time for the Patriots to move on because, if I'm them, I don't want to lose him. He's was there when they did most of their winning. But I think it's time for Bill Belichick to try something new, to just be a head coach again, not be involved with the player personnel decision, go someplace nice and warm, have a new number one quarterback named Justin, and, enjoy a big city, not New England where the stadium is about a half hour away from a city, right. Be downtown and get acclimated to the way back to the big city like he was in New York, and I think it's time for a different challenge for him because it's not working in New England. I don't know if it's him or whatever it is. It's just not working. So, he's not going to stay there and give up his role as GM. So, sometimes you just got to walk away. You got to know when to fold them. It's talking about cards.
Yeah, there you go. I know you got the cards theme ingrained in your head. So but here's the thing. Belichick hasn't been relevant since Tom Brady left. That's all I have to say about the whole thing. All right, Jacob, wrap it up with this comment that we're going to –
The whole point of something like that is it is completely obvious there's a team effort on something like this because I say this about Tom Brady. He is not winning the titles with Rich Kotite. I just bringing that up. It's like he's not winning titles with Matt Nagy. I'm sorry. It is not happening. It's like it takes the right quarterback and the right coach with the perfect team. And that's what I was going to say. As far as Belichick, though, yeah, I wouldn't mind him playing with Justin Fields somewhere else. But Justin Herbert, jokes aside, Justin Herbert, that would be a really good, nice thing over in LA. and he can be in a warm weather climate at all times and stuff like that. It wouldn't be bad whatsoever. And maybe, truthfully, Las Vegas. And then that's where you would possibly bring Justin Fields.
Jacob, I do this every show, and I'm going to do it again. Quit while you're ahead. JB Ellis.
I'm already ahead.
Bullseye, right? Yeah, no, you better quit while you're ahead. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of fun after the show is over with. I promise you that. But this is a unanimous across the board. All three of us agree that Bill Belichick's next move should be with the LA Chargers. All right, so we'll leave it at that. All right, I just want everybody to know that the Sports Exchange being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter/X. You can find us on Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. My book, Lessons from the Media, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, can be purchased on Amazon and Kindle. And the real big thing you need to know, it's old school media versus new school media. So, all right, Jacob, give us a Cliff Notes version.
Yes, absolutely. I am 5 to 6 shows a week, just depending on which. I am Jake the Pundit on Twitter. I am Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok. I also got a couple of auditions for movies coming up, and I do some writing.
And of course, just so everybody know that this show will be on the Pundit's Pundit, Jacob's other show. Our show will be moved next week to Wednesday night. Tomorrow night, it will be on at its regularly scheduled time at 8 o'clock. All right, Joel Ellis, take us home.
JB_ the program on X, Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 live, Twitter, Facebook, all over, NGBN.TV, our new television partner, and of course, here every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern, also on NGBN once the channels launch. So NGBN got a lot of great shows. These are just a couple of them.
Well done. All right. Well, folks, hope you enjoyed this edition of the Sports Exchange. So on behalf of JB Ellis and Jacob Christner, my name is Scott Morgan, Rough Motor City Manmouth. We will see you tomorrow night, on Pundit's Pundit. So hope you can join us. And also Professor and the Pupil returns on Sunday with Denzel Snipes, Jeremy Ballrick, myself, and Jacob Christner. So hope you can join us. So meanwhile, have a good weekend, and we will see you next week, everybody. Good night now.